last time we talked about impulse and basic collisions, conservation of momentum. Today we're going to be talking about inelastic collisions. In other words, what makes a collision inelastic? And how can we apply conservation of momentum in inelastic collisions? All right, so what is an inelastic collision? Well, there are some characteristics of inelastic collisions that you need to know. Number one is energy, kinetic energy is lost. I want you to think about why that is. I'm sorry. So in an inelastic collision, energy is going to be lost. As a matter of fact, what happens in an inelastic collision is that things stick together. You have one thing, you've got one piece here, one mass here, hitting another mass here. This is the before. And then after, you've got the two masses stuck together. And what's going to happen? Okay. So you have kinetic energy lost. Now, is momentum conserved? Guys, momentum is conserved if there are no outside forces. So it's following the same rules. All right. So what happens when something collides with something else? When you have something colliding with something else, in other words, M1 is going to come in, hit this guy, and they're going to travel together afterwards, albeit probably slower than M1 was moving. But that makes sense, doesn't it? There's going to be more mass. All right. What happens when you have in a collision is you've got internal forces between molecules acting on each other, between the masses acting on each other. These internal forces can't change the momentum of the system, but they can change the energy of the system. Okay, so those bonds moving back and forth, things compressing and sticking together, the things that make them kind of crunch together and stick, those are internal bonds being rearranged, moved, changing, and that's energy. So energy can be lost, but the actual momentum of the system is not going to be lost because momentum only has to do with the mass and the velocity. All right, so now total energy isn't lost. Total energy is conserved. But wait a minute, Miss Duffy, you just said kinetic energy is lost. Yeah, total energy is going to be all the different energy. So maybe that kinetic energy through speed is going to be going towards what? Maybe it's going to be going towards thermal energy. There was heat generated. Maybe it was lost due to friction. Maybe it was lost through sound. Maybe it was lost through deformation. So the total energy is conserved, but the kinetic energy is lost. So K final is always going to be less than K initial in an inelastic collision. All right. So now, let's look at an example. We got Vladimir Putin has a mass of 75 kilograms, stands on ice, and shoots a machine gun that fires 15 shots. Each bullet leaves with a speed of 800 meters per second. The mass of each bullet is 8 grams. How far does Putin recoil if the coefficient of friction on ice is 0.07? So now we're not going to draw a free body diagram. We don't have free body diagrams in collisions, but we can draw a before and an after, which you can see we have. What do we got going before? What do we got going after? So before, we've got Putin standing still, okay? After, we've got him moving and I'm sure most of you can agree that if he shoots and the bullets go forward, then he has to go backwards for momentum to be conserved. All right, so let's apply conservation of momentum. So what do we know? We know that P initial has to equal P final. We know momentum is still conserved. Well, initial momentum is going to be 0. P final is going to be the mass of Putin and the velocity of Putin plus the mass of the bullets times the velocity of the bullets. Okay, so what are those? Well, we know they're going to be equal and opposite, don't we? Okay, so what we do know is if we arrange things around, the velocity of Putin, we're going to take this and we're going to move it around here. So we're going to take negative mass bullet, velocity of bullet is going to be equal to, right, just move this to the other side, divide by the negative mass of the bullet, and we get the velocity of, I'm sorry, I just did that backwards, excuse me. Let's try this again. Mass Putin, velocity Putin equals negative mass bullet, velocity bullet. We're going to divide by his mass to find his final velocity. Okay, so we know it's going to be negative, and that makes sense. So now we actually figure out what that's going to be. Mass of the bullets, we've got negative, we've got mass of the bullets, which are, each bullet is 8 grams, so that's 0.008 kilograms. There are 15 of them, right? He fired 15 shots. And then the velocity of the bullets, if we can see from our graphic, is 800 meters per second, divided by his mass, and his mass was 75 kilograms. So what we find out is he is going a negative 1.28 meters per second. So he's going, the bullets are going forward at 800 meters per second. He's sliding backwards in a very nice, slow, sedated 1.28 meters per second, which isn't as slow as you think it is. He's going backwards pretty good. Now it says apply the work energy theorem to find the distance he travels while friction slows him down. Okay, so the work due to friction is going to be equal to the change in kinetic energy. Well, that's going to be K final minus K initial. Well, we know K initial is 0, so we know that's gone, right? Okay, so the work, which is going to be the force of friction times the distance, is going to be equal to K final, which of course is 1/2 mv final squared, which we know. We know his Putin's final velocity is going to be v final squared in this. Well, the force of friction is going to be mu times what? Did it tell us what the force of friction? No, it gave us the coefficient of friction. Okay, so this is going to be the coefficient of friction times the normal force times d. It's 1/2 mv final squared. One-half mv final squared. So now we know that normal force, of course, since he's pressing down on the ice and the ice is pressing back, is just going to be mu mass, Putin's mass times gravity times the distance, 1/2 Putin's mass times the velocity final squared, right? So what we do notice is this. First thing is his mass doesn't matter, but we can find the distance here by simply taking his final velocity, dividing it by 2 times mu times g. So his final velocity is 1.28. We're going to square that. 2, mu was 0.07, and gravity, of course, is 9.8. We should get somewhere close to 1.2 meters or so, okay? But that's how we do it. All right. Example A. Here we go. Kept skipping past. All right. So in a perfectly inelastic collision, the objects stick together and move as one mass. So what you're seeing is before we have two independent ones, one moving this way, one moving that way, and now they are both together moving in one direction. Which direction they move really depends on the masses and the relative velocities of them beforehand. So what does that look like? P initial equals P final. So what that looks like is M1V1 plus M2V2 equals M1 plus M2 times V final. So we get this combination. So what is the final velocity? Well, in general, the final velocity is simply going to be the initial momentum of the system divided by the total mass. Okay? So it's the sum of the initial momentum divided by the total mass. All right. Ballistic pendulum is a special case. What is a ballistic pendulum? Well, a ballistic pendulum, and we'll look at this in class. I'll show you an example of a ballistic pendulum. It's kind of a cool thing to look at. I may actually let you figure out. We did this last year. They came up with their own idea of how to make their own ballistic pendulum and actually do this experiment. But a ballistic pendulum is usually how we figure out how fast a bullet is going. We're going to fire a bullet or a mass into a block. A lot of times they use ballistic gelatin that they know the mass of, and it's hanging on a stiff rod. And what happens is it pushes that rod. The bullet is embedded in the gel, and it pushes that rod up some distance. So what do we have going on? We have P initial equals P final, okay? Well, the initial state is just this bullet moving. So this is my before. So we have M times V naught. Now, what that ends up equaling is an inelastic collision. You can see why we're talking about this time. We've got the combined masses. So we've got big M plus M moving at some final velocity V, okay? So what is that final velocity? Well, it falls in line. That final velocity is simply going to be M times the initial velocity, the bullet, divided by the total mass of the two combined together. All right. Now, it is going to be moving with a certain amount of energy. So what's happening in the beginning? If we talk about mechanical energy initial equals mechanical energy final, no, energy is not going away. We have initial plus kinetic equals initial plus kinetic, right? Well, initially we don't have any potential, and it comes to a rest, so final, that goes to 0. So we're starting with 1/2 what? Well, this is not what you think. It is not going to be mv naught squared, because when we talk about the bullet block system, we're talking about when it hits. This is the chunk we're talking about for part 2. Okay? So initially we have M plus M, right? And it's moving what? At V squared. And then finally we have this M plus M G times some height that it goes H. Well, how high does it go? At the max height, this is my height. This max height is this right here. Okay? So what do we know? Well, this goes away, so that doesn't matter. So if we're looking for the height, actually, we're going to take the V squared and divide it by what? 2G. Okay? Well, what is V? Well, we can put that in terms. We know what V is from above. So we're literally going to take this V and plug this in for it and see what we come up with. So that's going to be M V naught squared over m plus m squared times what? The 2g that's here, okay? Now, what happens in a 2D collision? It's conserved in the x direction and it's conserved in the y direction separately. So what does that mean? That means we have to do p in the x initial equals p in the x final. And we have to do p in the y direction initial equal to the momentum in the y direction final. And we have to do those separately. We have to look at them separately. So now, let's look at an example of a 2D collision. So this is back to where we were dealing with like projectile motion. Remember, we dealt with the x direction and the y direction independently of each other. We're going to do the same thing with momentum. Okay, we didn't do that with energy, but now we're doing it with momentum. We're back to that having to change things out. So let's look at example C. It says we have a 2D collision, a 1,000 kilogram car. We've got moving north at 20 meters per second, and we've got a 2,000 kilogram car moving east at 5 meters per second. So both of these cars, one of them's half the weight of the other, but it's going faster. So this guy is 1,000 kilograms, and this guy is 2,000 kilograms. Think of it as a Honda versus a pickup truck. Now the Honda's going faster, but the pickup truck is much heavier. The two cars stick together. In what direction and with what speed do they move after the collision? So we're going to have to deal with this in two separate ways. We're going to have to look at the x direction. So in the x direction, we know P initial equals P final. So what do we have going in the x direction in the beginning? Well, the lighter car is actually not going in the x direction. It's only the mass of the going in this direction. We'll call this A, and we'll call this what? B? Okay, so it's the mass of A times the velocity of A, and then sometimes afterwards we're going to have the mass of A and the mass of B moving in some x direction velocity. So we can figure out what that is by simply dividing. So the velocity in the x direction is going to be the mass of A, velocity of A, divided by mass of A plus mass of B. So we've got the mass of A, which is 2,000, times its velocity, which is 5, divided by 3,000, which is the combined. So we get about 3.3 meters per second. Okay, that's the x direction. Now, y direction. In the y direction, if we take P initial equals P final, in the y direction we only have the mass of B times the velocity of B, but we still have this combined mass of A plus mass of B times velocity in the y direction. So again, velocity of the y direction is going to be mass of B, velocity of B, divided by the total mass. Sorry, mass of B. So this is going to be what? 1,000 times 20 divided by 3,000, which is 6.7 meters per second. So we know how it's going in the x and in the y. Well, if we want the velocity final, we're going to have to combine those.
Excuse this interruption. At this time, please release all sophomores to the auditorium.
Hey.
Did you ever look to see what that missing